What follows is a special and extended edition of the Staying In podcast. There are full time codes available on stayinginpodcast.com or in the description provided if you want to skip around the show. But hopefully you will enjoy this small indulgence on our part. It is Christmas, after all. PlayStation 5, Among Us, and Secret Santa. This is Staying In. I had a job interview the other day.
Yeah.
For a promotion at work. Mm-hmm. And you know how... well, two embarrassing things happened in this job interview, right?
Okay, I like this story already.
Okay, I didn't want to bury the lead, really. The first one was, I work in a very technical field of broadcasting. Mm-hmm. And I went to this interview and I was using my bone conductive headphones, Bluetooth, just chatting away. And I thought I better have a spare handy just in case my battery dies. Good. Shows preparedness. Yeah, you want to hire me, don't you? Yeah, I'm ready for any eventuality.
Nice one.
So as predicted, my Bluetooth headphones fail. And I do apologise. Would you mind if I just switched my backup pair? Put in my backup pair.
I mean, if you were really prepared, you would have charged them ahead of time, but move on.
Oh, well, I did charge them, but I was just...
You were working that hard, Sam.
I was working that hard, and the interview went on for much longer than what I was briefed about. So I put in my backup pair, fiddled around in Zoom a little bit, and got them connected. Can you hear me? I can't. Oh no. Oh heavens. What's going on? A little bit of... Oh no, the motivation, the pace of the interview is slowly draining away. The confidence they have in me is slowly like, is he really? Oh, he's not very good at this technical stuff, is it? No. Hadn't plugged them in. So...
Did you try and style it out and pretend that wasn't the reason?
No, I told them and said that I would be more than happy to finish the interview here and leave.
Pulls cord, parachute opens.
I literally said, I'm really sorry I've wasted your time. I will now leave, if that's okay.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
The other embarrassing moment was,
I
got a question. And they asked me, aside from your professional development... Mm-hmm. Which you've talked at length, and I was like, "Oh God,
yeah."
What personal development do you do outside of work?
Oh.
Which is a really interesting question, and kind of caught me off the back foot. And you know when your mind and your mouth starts doing something, and you kind of catch it in the act, and you're just like, "Oh my God, why am I saying that? I'm going down this road now. I might as well continue." Whilst I was thinking of what I could use in this scenario, I just started talking about the fact I just had a son. And I caught myself going, Sam, why are you talking about your newborn son? They don't. What's that got to do with any personal development?
I mean, to be fair, that is surely the ultimate in personal development.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, personal perpetuation, right? like,
please give me job. I have son now.
I've made another one of me.
and then to make matters worse, halfway through talking about my son, I thought of, that's a great example of personal development. So then I had to tie the two together. And I was like, yes, and my son has given me the motivation to do X, Y, and Z.
Oh.
So
brilliant.
That was a thrilling experience.
Thrilling interview.
As it's the Christmas episode of the Staying In podcast, there are some special things that will be happening on the show. At intervals, we will be opening gifts. I don't know whether we want to do it as a block or we want to kind of make this interesting, and want to see if you want to earn your right to open your Secret Santa gift.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, do you want to do that?
The spirit of gift giving competitive. Yeah, let's do
that. All right,
that.
Okay, here we go. So, as with most years, we've got a £15 budget to spend on each other, and we've each requested something, a very specific kind of thing for our Secret Santa to get us. We have received all those gifts. So now, for the first time, it's your chance to earn the right to open your gift. Okay? So in my hand, I've got the top 10 excuses used by Brits to get out of work early. Okay? So, we're going to go round the group, and you're each going to give an answer. If you give a wrong one, you're out. Last one standing gets to open their gift. I realise that this gets tricky later on in the podcast we go, but let's roll with it. See what happens. So this is according to ukbusinessinsider.com. So the top 10 excuses used by Brits to get out of work early. Dan, let's start with you. What do you think is an excuse?
I'm going to say that I would need to leave early for a medical appointment.
Yeah, doctor/dentist appointment. That is correct. Peter Willington.
Yes.
I've got to get my iPad fixed because of a toilet-related accident.
Is that on there, Sam?
That is not on the list. I'm afraid you're eliminated. Chris.
Well, I've never left work early. Just saying.
Okay, we'll just imagine. Just try and get into the headspace of someone who would make an excuse to leave work early.
Something to do with my personal development school, whether it's like their parents' evening or they're doing a play or something. My child.
I've got collecting children from school, so I'll let you have that.
The school
okay,
run.
the school run. Okay, Daniel, back to you.
Okay, mine was going to be childcare related, but okay.
If you really wanted to, you could enlist the help of Peter Willington as he's out.
I don't trust him.
Okay.
I don't trust. He's not to be trusted. He would throw me under the bus as quick as he could look at me.
That's fair. You know what? I'm not even mad.
There's eight more to guess.
Travel problems, I'm going to say. So traffic or to catch a train or...
Need to get away, that kind of thing.
No, I don't. I'm afraid that's not on the top 10. So Chris, to steal it so you can open your gift first and staying in Secret Santa, just give me one of the top 7 excuses now. Or no, 8, because Dan didn't get one.
I'm going to bring in Peter Willington on this.
Hello.
Oh, no.
My phone a friend.
Oh no. Chris, what do you think about the idea of a I need to get away because
because it's not this difficult. You just need to you've got an excuse quickly off the top of your head.
A house. You need to get like going to look at like a house or like some sort of like big flat, or you know what I mean, like that kind of
look
like
at a building, right?
Like
okay.
life admin-y stuff. Like basically,
right.
like I need that kind of thing.
Nice
Chris,
and specific,
but better than that. Yeah,
I'm going to say, Sam, and based on what Pete's just said, that it would be that like a partner or significant other has had an accident or something.
Family member ill.
Yeah.
Correct. Well done. To complete, so you'll get to open your gift first. To complete the list, pretending to be ill, weather related, taking a pet to the vet, don't want co-workers to get ill, broken boiler, flatmate locked out. That's my favourite one. Oh, and going to vote, which is considering the polling stations are open till 10 p.m. in the UK.
Exactly.
That's a poor one. So we'll do another one of those later on. But Chris, as your prize, you get to.
But what did you ask for first?
Well, that's it really. So every year we ask our Secret Santas. We ask for something specific. So we have like a certain price range that we have to work within. And yes, so to help Santa a little bit, we give them a kind of a set of parameters to work within. So mine was I wanted a role-playing game, an RPG for myself, like a solo RPG. Because I know that, like, I've recently become interested in them. We're currently working on Artifact at the moment. Sam and I have backed the Kickstarter for The Wretched, which should be arriving, I think, at some point this month. I think it's going to come out. And these lovely kind of solo RPGs, and I really quite like that because it's sometimes you want to kind of escape, but you don't want to have to be staring at a screen to do it, whether that be through Netflix or any other kind of streaming site or video games. So. If I can't do a solo board game, a solo RPG is something in particular that I am particularly interested in. So I've got this here. It says on it, the attention of Chris bracket Secret Santa Derby. So a very smart way of not having to gift wrap it. You just put Secret Santa actually on the address. Okay. This is good quality Foley here. Oh no, that's quite good.
Brilliant.
So this is called 1,000-Year-Old Vampire.
Oh.
And this has been printed out by an online printing company, and I have this here lovely ring bound. Well, thank you so much, Santa. So this is a 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. Any other credits here? Wow, it's actually like a library book, like a really old library book. It's like from the inside. It reminds me a bit of like the Ship of Theseus, sorry. That kind of sense of like you're holding a prop as well as a game.
Do you know anything about 1,000-Year-Old Vampire?
I don't know anything about 1,000-Year.
So I can tell you a little bit about it because I do know about it.
Oh yeah, please.
Wink, wink. So this is quite a popular solo RPG where you pretend to be a vampire over thousands of years. And essentially what you're doing is you're given prompts, a bit like the same in Artifact, in terms of like what your character is doing over certain years and how they're interacting with different characters. But the interesting thing here is it takes place over such a protracted amount of time. And there's an interesting mechanic where you can actually forget things. So you can actually, like, to do certain things, you will actually have to start, like, blacking things out in your diary.
Oh, wow.
So
redacting.
So redacting your diary. So people have recommended that you actually play it and buy yourself, like, a nice notebook and start writing things in your diary. And then slowly, as your play sessions will go on, you'll have to, like, redact things. So they'll be generally, like, you fell in love with so-and-so person, and then as the game goes on, you'll eventually forget who that person was, and it will just be like, oh, I fell in love with someone, but I can't remember who they were anymore.
So it's like the trials and tribulations of being an immortal.
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. Mm-hmm. And as I am a person who likes to take their time doing pretty much anything, this is a perfect solo RPG for me. Gosh, what a very thoughtful gift, Santa. Really lovely.
It was a pleasure.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome, mate.
Speaking of being embarrassed, I got embarrassed by myself the other day.
I hate it when that happens.
Yeah.
You have used this podcast for kind of advice, an advice kind of portal in the past. So perhaps to utilise the power of the pod in this sense. Because I kind of realised I almost kind of had like a mini midlife crisis the other day where, and I'll paint you a picture. It's a personal picture, but I'll paint it for you because this is a safe space.
Yeah, it's just us.
I was just getting ready to go to bed. It was close to midnight. I was to put it bluntly, I was on the toilet. I was looking on my iPad as generally people may do. They may look at an iPad or look at a phone in bed on the toilet before.
An iPad on the toilet?
Oh, yeah.
Well, is it like a Tesla? Is it like built in, like in the dashboard?
Well, you look at your phone on the toilet, don't you? There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, but an iPad seems...
No, I drag my TV in.
It's like wheeling it's like wheeling your desktop PC and just like, well, I'll get a couple of raids on the go while...
Sorry, Dan.
My toilet time is kind of very special to me, so I need to make the most of it.
How much time does it... Oh, I don't want to know.
Anyway, strange enough, that's not the embarrassing bit. The embarrassing bit is I was sat there on my iPad and I realised that it was close to midnight and I was sat there looking at an article for the top 10 ladders 2020. And I thought to myself, what have I become? And it was genuinely an article that I was interested in.
Is this women's hosiery or home improvement?
This is home improvement. I think that's a good distinction to make. That is very much home improvement. Looking at what are the best ladders. Hang on, could you say top 10 ladders 2020? I was interested in the most up-to-date version of this list. And I kind of wanted to use the power of the pod to maybe help me get out of the clear rut that I find myself. That I'm spending my time looking at ladders.
I mean, how much has ladder technology gone from here is a ladder to 2020?
I want to know, Dan, who sponsored the award ceremony?
I'm not prepared with a pun of sufficient hilarity to answer that question.
All right. So it didn't escalate from there.
You should have wronged someone about it.
Yeah, do you know what? We've reached new heights.
Yeah. Great.
Let's step down from this.
So if you're wondering what the top 10 list things are,
Yeah.
I recently got a copy of Mr. Lister's quiz shootout from Big Potato. I bought this. And it's great. It's just like a load of cards, and it's like the 11 best ice creams and ice lollies. List them. Like the top 10 poets from Britain and Ireland. Me, Chris, and my wife went on a socially distanced walk a few days ago, and we like took a stack of these in one of my pockets, and we were just like drawing them out at random, and going like, according to Christian teachings, there are 7 deadly sins. List them, and then it's like there are actually like a mechanic to this, like how to actually play it, but it's kind of like a lovely little travel.
Yeah, that's really clever
Thing, and they're all like come from like proper lists, like that have been in.
Why do I
newspapers
recognise the
and
name
such.
Big Potato? I associate that with high quality for some reason.
20-second showdown, herd mentality,
Okay,
Obama
that'll be it.
Llama,
Yeah, okay.
Peas for Pizza,
I love that game.
Don't Get Got, like some of the best party games and group games that
Gotcha.
play, basically.
Gotcha. All right,
So,
then.
Chris, are you ready?
Okay. Keeping it on brand, gentlemen, just because that's the way we roll. Okay, so listen up. There are 8 common ways to cook an egg.
Okay.
List them. So I'm going to come to you, Sam, first.
The best poach.
Correct. Daniel.
Fried.
Correct. Peter.
Boiled.
You've done 2 there. There's hard-boiled and soft-boiled. So Pete's wiped out 2 on the list.
Oh,
So now we're getting to the end game now because there are 8 in total and we've already had 4. So we're halfway through.
Scrambled.
Correct.
Okay, now I'm out of ideas. Why did you have to take 2, Pete?
I'm sorry. I'm just so good. This is all this egg council stuff, like all the knowledge that's coming
Yeah,
through.
early on in the year, he did all the relevant research.
Thanks, Sarah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, thanks again, Sarah.
Omelette.
Correct.
Oh,
Good choice. So how many's left? Just 2.
I believe so, yeah.
Deviled.
No.
What?
that's a dish. I mean, I could be an omelette as well, but that's basically a hard-boiled egg with stuff in it.
So what was the question again? What was the category again, Chris?
There are 8 common ways to cook an egg. List
Omelette, boiled, fried, poached, scrambled. I'm gonna go. I can't. What else? What other way is there to prepare a bloody egg? Souffle.
No.
No,
I've got one, I think. I think I've got one.
You're out. You're already out.
you're out. You're out anyway.
Oh.
What was it?
They were coddled. And the last one
Yeah.
is the way I sometimes cook my eggs, which is baked.
I was going to say baked.
Good one. To coddle an egg, you just hold it until it's cooked.
I don't
yeah,
know what a coddled egg is.
You just tell it what it wants to hear.
Well, Dan, you win. So Dan, you get to open your
Yay.
you get to open your secret
I mean,
Santa.
I did get a sneak peek at my gift, only for the fact of it arrived from a rainforest company, and it arrived literally about a day, or literally like 48 hours after we decided we were going to do it. So I assumed it wasn't going to be my Secret Santa because that came far too quickly, but alas it was. So firstly, I've actually got 2 gifts, because clearly my main gift did not meet the required spending limit. So to top it off, I have a packet of Pringles, which are pizza flavoured.
Classic.
which I may have to try. So that's topped up the price of my gift, and then my gift is lovely.
But whoa!
What did you ask for, Daniel?
What did you ask for?
Oh yeah. Sorry, I got
It
excited.
wasn't a solo RPG, was it?
It was not a solo RPG. I asked for a 2-player board game. That's what I asked for. So I got very excited.
And we all know you can't share a tin of Pringles with another person.
We've reviewed some really good 2-player ones on the
Absolutely
podcast.
not. So this is a lovely gift wrapped from Amazon. It's got a card. Let me see what the card says. Okay, so the card says, says, to a truly fun guy from Secret Santa.
Oh, can I guess what it is?
7 Wonders Jewel.
Okay, so it's unwrap. Okay, so I have been gifted Fungi.
Oh,
That is a really, really good 2-player game.
it's one of the best. One of my favourites.
It's one of my favourites.
I think we've talked about Fungi in the past. I've not played it. So Fungi, a savoury card game. For you guys who all know it better than me, what's great about this game?
Well, Sam, you let me borrow your copy, so you're probably better placed than me to describe it.
So I'll jump in again here. So Fungi or Fungi or Fungi, as you can call it, is basically a set collection game, and it's got a wonderful central mechanic that you'll sit across from the player playing with you, and you start off the game with like a frying pan and some like twigs essentially, and the idea is that the game simulates you walking through the forest with your other player. So there's a row of cards in the center of the table, and as the game goes along, this row of cards moves along like a conveyor belt. So the idea is that you're walking further and further into this wood, and as you're walking, you'll be picking stuff up off of this conveyor belt, and you'll be adding it into your hand. And the stuff you'll be picking up will be things like other frying pans, butter, cider, and mostly mushrooms. And the idea is that you're picking up mushrooms and collecting them as sets, and then you're playing them in front of you with a frying pan, because the idea is that you're picking the best mushrooms and then you're cooking them up. And if you're able to like add some butter in or add some cider in, you'll increase the value of the mushrooms that you've cooked. So there's like interesting things like really common mushrooms. There's like 10 of them in the deck, and they're all like worth 1 point each. So you can cook like 5 of them up together, and that's like 5 points. Or you can go for like the Morels. Oh, the sweet Morels.
Morels.
There's only like 3 of them in the deck, but they're worth 10 points each. So there's a wonderful like part of the game where you can kind of see what kind of mushrooms that your opponent's going for, and so like even if you don't really want it, you can like steal the last morel that they were looking for. And it's just really thematic, like this act of like walking along into a forest, and generally it does really feel like you're having a walk along with your opponent together.
And the artwork has that classic German card game feel. Like it's very like cartoon-ish, but not like very kind of naturalistic. It looks like like you get like German gingerbread and the designs that would be on the packet of something like that. Like really beautiful. I believe, and I don't know, but I believe there is an American version of this called Morels.
Yes, there is. Yes, it's very sort of Hans Christian Andersen kind of fairy tale like of a game. It's really very good.
It's a very good game.
Very good.
Well, thank you very much, Secret Santa. I look forward to playing that with my lovely wife.
So the game that we've been playing, as I have mentioned, is Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout, which I think is a reprint from Big Potato. I think it went out of print for a while, and they made the print and play version available. But you can get it now. But I do have a small suggestion for another game that is good for this time of year and would actually make a good gift for someone if you're struggling for something to get someone and you want it and you're looking for a gift idea. Mr. Lister's great. Anything from Big Potato, shove it in. But I've also been playing Abandon All Artichokes, which is, it's Abandon All Artichokes, and the strapline of the game is a heartless card game.
That's very good. That's a very good play on words.
It's very good, isn't it? The word Jerusalem isn't anywhere in the rules, but that's a bit of a shame. But and I don't want to spend too long talking about this because I think it's kind of the game probably only takes about 10 or 12 minutes to play, and I don't think it really needs any more than that to kind of describe how much fun I've had playing it, and Chris has played it with me too. And it's designed by Emma Larkins, and the art is by Bonnie Pang. And it's produced by Gamewright Games. And I think it is a game that now sits alongside Sushi Go as a game that every person who enjoys board games should have in their collection. So I think Sushi Go is probably the one game that we all have in common, that we all own.
Yep.
Yeah. Even I own it.
It's brilliant.
And I think that Abandon All Artichokes should now be like the next game that that you pick up. It's very cheap, £11 maximum, I think it is. Unfortunately, it comes in a box which is sort of shaped like an artichoke, which is probably the one downside I have about it. Like, it is just a deck of cards, and it's a shame it doesn't just come in a nice little tin like Sushi Go does.
Right.
But it is just a deck of cards, and it is different in that it is the first deck destruction game that I've ever played. So we're all quite familiar with deck building games like Star Realms, Valley of the Kings, where the idea is that you're using cards in your hand as money to buy stuff from a shop, which will give you like better ships to shoot your opponent, or like burial items to put in your pyramid, as in Valley of the Kings. However, in Abandon All Artichokes, the idea is everyone around the table starts with 10 artichoke cards, and it's the first person to draw a hand of 5 that doesn't contain any artichoke cards. So the idea is that you're all trying to basically destroy your own deck, like get rid of all the artichoke cards that you have. There's no economy in it. There's no store. On your go, everyone takes a card from the general stock for free, and then they can play their cards from their hand immediately. And it's so incredibly simple, but yet really, really engaging as a game, that me and Chris have both been like, really bold, surprisingly bold over from it. Like, it's really, really sweet to look at. I think it is a genuine contender for, helping people get into board games, or if you know that you're going to be around people at Christmas who generally don't like them, but you want to play like a nice little card game, I think it appeals to a very wide breadth of people, and it's instantly understandable. Like that idea of you've got to get rid of these artichokes is a lot easier to understand than you've got to pick a faction and build and invest in it, and you don't want to diversify your portfolio. You just got to draw a hand of 5 cards that doesn't contain an artichoke. And because there's no economy in it, because there's no like each artichoke is worth 1 thing to buy, you just pick whatever you want from the store for free on your turn, and that's it. It means you can get down to the crux of the game quicker, and it makes it for a really enjoyable experience.
And does it actually have like strategy? Would you want to play it multiple times? Would you like is there, because I think part of the problem with those kind of very accessible games sometimes is that it's really easy to understand, and unfortunately because of that there's also kind of like a lack of depth. Is there actually strategy here, or is that maybe not the point? Or
there's a little bit of strategy there, but not too much that you overly fixate on that and you get frustrated if you lose. And that's what I like about this. There's enough there to keep you replaying the game, because I think you and I, Sam, we played it like, was it 2 days on the trot, or at least there was a day apart, and I just wanted it, and it's light and breezy, but not too light. It does everything that Gamewright has done so well with Sushi Go, as Sam says, which the reason why Sushi Go has done gangbusters is because it's in that sweet spot for bringing in new players, but keeping them there, so they don't just see it as a flash in the pan, as a one-off, and they will go back to it. And also, as Sam says, it's a single deck of cards, very easy to set up and deliver. You haven't got to worry about making sure that everyone's got the right the right particular type of edge in their hand, because you literally start with 10 artichokes each. And it's a lot easier to understand how everyone starts with the same hand of cards and how that changes than it is to spend time trying to explain each and every person's card in their hand, because everyone's got the same starting hand. All you need to look is just, you can actually it's one of those games you can teach as you go, which I really, really like.
In terms of like catching that similarity between Sushi Go, like there is in Sushi Go you have a deck that's too big for that generally has too many cards for the people that are playing. So in terms of strategy in Sushi Go, you always have to be on the hot foot of, there's quite a lot of dumplings going around this time, or there's quite a lot of prawns going around, so I'm going to have to like pin down. Abandon All Artichokes is kind of similar, that you have this massive stack of cards that make the shop, and you kind of just have to play a strategy that meets the different vegetables that are in the shop. So when me and Chris were playing it the second time, we were like, we didn't see a carrot last time. Well, what does a carrot do? Or there's quite a lot of onions this time. So that is a sort of way you strategize, in that you have to take advantage of what is in the shop, because that's the only place that you can essentially gain things that help you get rid of artichokes. And the only other sort of thing in terms of strategy is picking what card you're going to take. So, for example, the onion, I think off the top of my head, the onion allows you to get rid of an artichoke card immediately, but you then have to put it onto an opponent's discard pile. So there is an interesting part of the strategy there, in terms of, I can get this advantage now, but then I'm going to be giving this advantage to another player later on in the. So in a really subtle way, it does a great job of introducing lots of little mechanics that are familiar in quite a lot of more complicated and more strategically deeper board games, but in a really subtle and light and enjoyable way. And yeah, I think it would be almost like a 10 out of 10 if we did scores game, if it wasn't in an artichoke shaped box.
But
I think,
yeah, I mean, it looks beautiful. It's got that cute sushi quality. It does put the art in artichoke.
Oh, Chris.
We got through that entire thing.
Come on.
It's Christmas. Give me one at least. Come on.
All right.
yeah. But Dan, I know from your position where like board games aren't generally like, you're never gonna play like, or buy like Concordia or Great Western Trail or anything like that. Like for you, I think like the joy of it is like, this is just a little tin, but look at all the fun that we've had from it.
Yeah.
And this only cost me a tenner. Like this was brilliant.
Well, on the flip side of this, I've actually been experiencing a game that is the exact opposite of what you are talking about. Gather.
No. What's the opposite of an artichoke? Gather.
What's the opposite of an artichoke?
Collect no
Carrots.
Collect no carrots.
What's the opposite of an artichoke? A carrot.
I don't know, but it phonetically worked nicely. Abandon all artichokes, collect all carrots. That works.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, okay.
Collect no carrots.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's the opposite.
So what's collect no carrots about, Pete?
I mean that sort of...
No. Pete. I want to know what collect no carrots is about.
Oh, okay. Collect No Carrots is actually a licensed game from the Looney Tunes people. And it's actually about a Bugs Bunny that's gone murderously rampant and is after any person who is collecting carrots. Each player plays as Porky Pig, Daffy Duck, the Goof Troop, all the children's classics, and they have to make sure that they don't pick up any carrots, just in case Bugs comes after, because Bugs can sniff them out, and then unfortunately, if they do find you, he will murder you. It's a bit like that Jack the Ripper hidden movement game.
That's from Whitechapel.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's that basically, but Bugs is a murderer.
I mean, that's a darker game than I was expecting.
Well, you know what? Ask.
It's a departure for the Looney Tunes.
You asked. No, no, I mean the kind of game where you spend. Well, the game itself is 3 hours long. It's a game called GetKanban, and it's about 3 hours long. But to really learn how to play it, you need to spend about 2 days in a classroom beforehand.
Sign me up.
Yeah.
To be fair, this sounds like a dream game for you.
2 days in a classroom.
Yeah. So I've become a little bit obsessed with this game. And it is so GetKanban, one word. It was not on BGG until I put it onto BGG the other day. So it is actually there is a hidden world of training board games. That people make board games around themes and subjects to be used in classrooms. So actually, Alex's father used to make them for when he worked, I think, at the BBC. He used to make these training board games, basically. And so it's a niche within a niche within a niche, obviously. But these board games will teach you. They are ways of taking quite high-level concepts and philosophies and theories from a classroom and engaging with them in a semi-practical way and in a very safe way. So I've actually been doing a Kanban course, which is a project management course. You don't really need to know too much about it, basically, but it's a philosophy about making things in an efficient, quality manner. And I'm just interested in these kinds of things. That's my day job. Part of my day job is thinking about this kind of stuff.
So is it a dexterity game?
It's not a dexterity game. It is, however, a worker placement. Basically, it is a game where... So the entry fee is quite high. It is either you play it on the course that I was on, which is I won't go into how much that was, but it was worth it, but quite high. Or you can buy it as a one-off.
Hang on, so I'm just so I can get this right. Have we now reached a point, Pete, where you are taking courses to play board games?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
Just so we're clear on this stuff.
This road that we've walked down, this is the stop that we're currently at. Okay.
Yeah,
it does feel like we're reviewing Office 365.
I mean, but this is the thing. I want to talk about this because I think this is really interesting. So first of all, the entry fee is $450.
What?
Yeah, if you want to buy this is $450. It is also a minimum, probably, of 8 players. You need to get 8 players who are prepared to do this, plus a moderator to be able to go, okay, this is how this whole philosophical system about how you make complex products.
It's like a group of a team of people got together in a room and said, let's make a game that Dan just would hate. What?
Yeah, exactly.
All of the elements.
Absolutely.
What elements could we put in place?
But 9 people down. That's £50 each.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, like dollars per people per hour. It's not that bad. But the thing here is that the reason I'm really fascinated by it is, first of all, I just like that kind of thing, and it was genuinely is a really great way of getting across all of the sort of philosophies about how Kanban works and literally the systems of how all these things work. And you might know this from your work, actually, because this is all fairly confident. So, when you get basically 3 columns on a board and it says to do, doing, done, That's a Kanban board. And that's part of one of the tools of one of the systems. So this is a game that goes into that and how it all works. That in and of itself is very, very interesting, and I think it was I think it gets across that stuff really, really well. But the thing I found super interesting about it is it was actually a really good game. Like I was really surprised at how entertaining trying to figure out how to use one of these systems actually works. I was really impressed with how somebody had been able to board game-ize a thing that people do for their jobs, right? And it got me thinking about, first of all, are there any other board games out there that actually do this? Like, so for example, war games as an entire, you were talking about war games earlier. War games as an entire medium came about because of Napoleon's troops, I think it was. They used to play war games as training exercises, right? That is like one of the earliest instances of board games, and certainly war games that we know about, right? And it came about essentially as an educational tool, right? And I wonder how many of these things are there out there, and are there any other games that do this that we just kind of don't know about? Are there games that we're playing right now that are teaching us things about how the world works, right? So this one, GetKanban, it's very unlikely anybody's ever going to go and play it unless you specifically go on this course or you've got $450 burning a hole in your pocket and just an unbelievable interest in what this could possibly be. But I do wonder, what is there out there? Board games have so many different themes and topics now. The first Board Game Geek entry is a game that's actually about the German Parliament. And it will teach you how the German Parliament works. It's a classic German board game. I cannot remember for the life of me what it's actually called. But it will teach you about what those things are. And it just got me thinking about all of that stuff. Like, are there any other games that we play that are actively teaching us things?
Well, I've been playing on my own a game called Coffee Roaster, which sells itself, is on the box itself. It sells itself as a premium solo game. And it very much is like most of the solo games I own. Most of them are just a pack of cards, or even the stuff that's from the Oniverse is in quite small boxes. But this is like a proper big box solo experience. It's not like a game that they've condensed down into a solo variant. This is just a game that is played solo. It's designed by Saashi, and it is a game that tries to replicate as much as possible the coffee roasting process. I mean, when you open the box itself, it has an A4 piece of paper which tells you what coffee is and how it's roasted. And the mechanics of the game are quite simple. It's a bag building game, which is, I guess, the sort of touchstones are like Quacks of Quedlinburg, Puerto Rico, and so the idea is that you're drawing stuff from your bag and then using certain mechanics to kind of change what is in your bag, so subsequent draws are more powerful, more valuable. And how the game actually works is that the bag is essentially the stand-in for the coffee roaster. And what is in your bag is a ton of coffee beans. And you start each playthrough picking a different kind of coffee from a different part of the world. So you have like beginner, intermediate, and advanced coffees that you brew. And they come in this wonderfully like resplendent premium envelope. So one of the first ones is like this coffee from Sao Paulo, and you turn it over and it tells you where it's grown, and that like that it's so popular in Brazil that they drink like 3/4 of the stock that they produce because they just don't want to sell it because it's so good, and it gives you a bit more information about like the conditions that it's brewed under. And that scoring sheet tells you what beans are going into the bag, and then what score you have to hit to basically make the perfect brew. And so I guess in a roundabout way, the game has started to teach me about the delicate refining that goes into making a very special blend, especially something like coffee, because essentially how the game works is every time you draw out a bean that's got a number on it, you throw that back into the box and you put back into a bag a bean with a higher valued number back in, because the idea is that the bag is roasting these beans, and so they're getting richer and they're getting darker as you're drawing them out of the bag. So when you draw a 1, you put back in a 2. When you draw a 0, you put back in a 1, etc., etc. But the one thing you've got to do is, if you ever draw a 4 and then you have to put it back in your bag, that bean is now burnt because you've basically over roasted it. So what the game is essentially teaching you is about the delicate balance between trying to get the most flavour out of the beans that you're with, but not over roasting to a point where you're essentially burning the beans that you're working with. They're minus points at the end of the game. And it does have like wonderful thematic touches, like there are steam tokens, and when you pull them out of the bag, you immediately put them back in the box. It's just like, well, of course, you're producing steam, so that's just like a byproduct of the coffee roasting process. Yeah. Just put it back in the box. The more you go along roasting the coffee, because it's up to you to decide when you stop and essentially brew the first cup. So the longer you go along the roasting process, you start adding things in like smoke tokens, which are negative points at the end of the game. So essentially, like you're like over. The idea is that you're kind of like over roasting the beans, and sometimes there'll be times where you have to add in extra heat, which will mean that instead of increasing the bean values by 1, you increase them by 2. So you got to be really careful about drawing like 3s and 4s. And when you stop the game and you think, right, I'm ready to make my first cup, the idea is you're drawing beans out of the bag, and you've got to hit a certain value with the numbers that you've got. And if you hit it sort of in the middle, you'll get maximum points. A little bit less, a little bit more, you'll get less sort of points. So like that's been like the most valid learning experience for me. I don't know if I've essentially learnt how to make a good cup of coffee from playing the game, but I think what I have learnt from it is the complexities of, you know, what it is to make a coffee blend. Like, I guess you assume that most of the time it's just a bean that they pick, a bit like grapes. It's just like a grape they pick, and the environment around it influences the flavour and the taste and the profile of it. However, when it comes to coffee, the actual the bean is important in terms of the environment it's grown in, but also how it is roasted, like what they add in terms of like there's tokens that you can use to like adjust aroma and bitterness and acidity, and all these little touches that you can do along the sort of the roasting process in the game to kind of affect how it will be in the end product. It is one of the best solo games that I have played, and I think it is because of that like premium edition. Like it comes in a box which already has like a game tray in it in order to put all the tokens.
Nice.
So all that sort of like filtering out is really, really simple. Like everything's organized from the bat, and like like if you're playing Coffee Roaster, you're playing Coffee Roaster. Like no one else is using the dining room table for the next 30, 40 minutes. Like,
lucky you've got such a big table now, Sam.
Can I ask, like, does it feel like it works at its best as a solo game, or do you feel that actually you want to have that person there to kind of discover the coffee making process with, if you see what I mean? A bit like in viticulture, where you know you're making your own wine separately around the table and you're looking at each other's blends and stuff like that.
No, I think it is. It's designed as a solo game through and through, and I applaud them for making a bag building game which genuinely is quite a thrilling experience enjoyed with a lot of people in terms of like pushing your luck into such an exciting and rewarding solo experience. I think that generally just comes down to the theme, like preparing yourself, roasting and preparing yourself a very personal cup of coffee feels very individual rather than Quedlinburg, which is like you're in this apothecary festival and all this kind of stuff. I think the only reason I'd want someone there playing it with me would be to go stop, Sam, stop, right, stop, just you're over roasting. The first roast blend I made was terribly over roasted because I wanted to be very, very sure that I was getting the right amount of beans in it, and it was pretty awful. But yeah, that would be like most recently. That's been the best example of a game where I've really learnt. It's really taught me something about like a process, a mechanical other thing. So for the for this, I'm the only one with a copy of Mr. Lister's Quiz Shootout, but there is a print and play version of it which everyone else is using. But unfortunately, the print and play version doesn't come with this plastic mustache.
Well, what's even the point then? That's great. They're really good, aren't they? Those big potato lot. They really get it.
They're perfect for Christmas, actually. Like when you've got like the family like together, and like I know that in the UK, as a public information thing, they are kind of trying to dissuade people from playing board games together at Christmas.
Yeah,
but there are a few big potato games you can play where it's not like having you can do it smartly and safely, and still have that sense of a party game with their kind of their back catalogue really, which is really lovely. So they're a really good game company for Christmas.
Okay, I've got one.
Here we go.
You ready?
Okay.
Okay. There are 11 things commonly left in hotel rooms. List them.
Oh no,
this is a good
Dan.
one. Who do you want first?
I'm going to start off with Pete.
Feel free to tap me in. I used to be a cleaner in a hotel.
Award nominated.
Award-nominated cleaner Chris. Could you give me a hand?
Straight away, just can't think of anything. But someone might leave.
Okay, so top things left are... I just remember lots of tissues.
Is that really going to be your suggestion? Award-nominated.
Some things people would leave would be...
Who's playing this game, Pete or Chris? Come on.
I'm looking for suggestions. What about Chris? If I said underwear, do you think that's a good one?
I had a couple of instances of that, yeah.
Dan.
Yes.
Underwear.
Underwear is a correct answer. Well done.
Thank God. Oh.
Okay, toothbrush.
Electric toothbrush is on there, so I'm going to say yes to that one as well.
Thanks.
Back to you, Pete. Are you going to outsource it again?
Is that allowed?
Oh yeah, maybe you've used up your own lifeline.
I think you've used up your Chris. You can ring Alex if you want.
Sam, just a quick question about this game itself.
Yeah.
Is it like the actual board game? Is it like PG rated, or is there sometimes a little bit of naughty stuff on there as well?
I think it's 14 plus on the box.
Okay.
So maybe that's what you will.
So maybe there's a little bit of that. So maybe so I would say, Dan, something of a sexual nature, like for example,
a family planning thing.
For example, some like
a vibrating Pringles can.
A family heirloom of mine, for example.
It's a deep cut.
A prophylactic. Is that
Yes,
what you're trying to say?
prophylactic. Yes.
Okay.
I'm afraid to let you talk any more on that, so I'm going to give you that because on the list there is adult toys.
There we are.
Okay.
Excellent stuff. So, adult toys. So, like the sort of master set in Lego.
Yeah, FX models.
or like a really expensive train set.
It's advanced Meccano.
Yeah.
Isn't that just like actual steel and riveting and stuff like that?
Okay, so back to you, Sam.
All right. Okay. Phone charger.
Hang on. What's the punishment if someone's out in this round? Do they just not get their present?
Will eventually. They just get to open their gifts last like a loser. You know.
Okay. So what did you say?
Phone charger.
Phone charger is on there. So again, Pete, straight away it loops straight back round to you. You've burnt your Chris lifeline. You've burnt your kind of.
You've always got tissues.
You've burnt your adult-friendly one.
Passport.
Passport. You're going for passport. Passport is not on the list. On the remainder of the list. Anybody else want to have another go at anything else? Or
I think money, Dan. I used to
Well,
get
I've got to. Oh no, I've got to get one to steal it.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's
okay.
a dead rubber, isn't it? Otherwise, we go to the tiebreaker. So I'll say food.
Food is not on there. Pete, you're back in the game.
No, go to the tiebreaker.
Oh, the tiebreaker. Oh, you want to go? You want to skip straight to the? So yeah. So for each card, there is a tiebreaker. So last chance saloon. So for this one, it says how many items left on public transport in New York make it to Lost and Found every year. So I'm just looking for a number, and whoever's closest is the victor.
Who goes first?
I'll give it to Pete to go first. And while I'm going to put this forward now, I will not accept, Sam, an answer one above or below Pete's answer.
Damn it.
All of New York, all of public transport, all the items. In one
public
year.
transport in New York make it to Lost and Found every year. So this is the stuff that people haven't grabbed and run off with.
10,000.
Okay, 10,000.
75,000.
What?
Okay, so I can confirm that the answer is between those numbers.
So it's not a trick question that there isn't a Lost and Found.
Hold on to your things, New Yorkers, for goodness sake.
The correct answer is 50,000, which means Sam is the winner.
Yes, come on.
It wasn't close, but Sam is the winner.
All right. That was well played. Tissues, Chris.
No, joking. So loads of tissues and cash. Was cash on the list, Dan?
It wasn't. Do you want to know what was on the list? It was
go on.
phones and chargers, underwear, false teeth,
Never had that.
hearing aids,
Never had that.
keys,
Never had that.
shoes/clothes,
Yeah, I had some of that.
toiletry bags, adult toys, electric toothbrushes, laptops, and jewellery.
I remember once, so when I went to this hotel, I remember because I used to cater for weddings, and there was a big bottle, an unopened bottle of champagne in the fridge, and I just took it home with me, but didn't realise actually that would have still got deducted from them. I didn't realise until a few weeks after, and I'd also eat the biscuits that were left over as well. Not left over, like they'd taken a bite and left it on the plate, but ones that they hadn't opened. I'd help myself to the biscuits. I'd just get hungry, hoovering and stuff.
I mean, yeah, we know you.
And you can hoover up the evidence then, it's great.
The perfect crime.
Danny Ocean's got nothing on you, Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, Sam.
I've won. Yes,
You've
so I
won.
get to open my gift. Right. This has also been lovingly wrapped by a famous rainforest. What I asked for this year was a game that I have not played, but that's also in a foreign language.
Also known as the Willington requirement. An unnecessarily and overtly difficult request.
It was quite a challenging one, actually, wasn't it?
Amazon.de, mate.
It's Monopoly. Sort of Le Monopoly.
Le Monopoly.
It's Munich's own version of Monopoly.
Monopolique.
So this might require some translation to understand and break down, but inside this package I have got Kompromat.
Kompromat.
Is that Russian?
Das Grob Jewel.
Oh, this sounds good.
It is from Helvetiq, which we have we've come across before. They made Omerta, which we have spoken about before.
see.
So has anyone done any research on this?
I know what the word compromat means.
Compromise?
It means compromising material.
So spies, espionage?
Well, according to Wikipedia, in Russian culture, compromat, short for compromising material, is damaging information specifically about a politician, business person, or other public figure.
I can give you a little bit of a blurb.
Go on.
If you like. In this one-on-one game, take on the mantle of rival spies, competing by undertaking daring missions and trying to remain undercover. So this is Kompromat by Adam Porter and Rob Fisher.
It implements, it's basically blackjack, but with a kind of social deduction element to it, I think. It's like a push your luck.
Yeah, the two players compete using blackjack hands to win missions and collect special abilities. To complete a mission successfully, overtake your opponent, but be careful not to go over 21 or you'll collect notoriety tokens.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, this looks absolutely gorgeous. And... yeah, it is going to. It's going to take a little bit of translation.
I'm on the Board Game Geek page now, and they have got a PDF of the rules in English.
Kind of undermines the whole request, though, really, doesn't it?
They've got them in French as well. So
You got to figure it out yourself.
I kind of like this because it just looks a lot more interesting on your board game shelf. It makes you look cultured. What's all this stuff in a foreign language?
Yeah.
But it's just like
It's like the sort of people who are like, oh, all the Derrida. Yes, of course.
but that is that's genuinely a really good shout. So thanks very much.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. Thank you, Santa.
I want to talk about a genre of game that I never ever thought I would ever properly go back to as a genre, because it was one of those genres, and I'm not going to bury the lead. A social deduction game.
All right. Okay.
So I don't know if this was the same for you, but when I first started board gaming, like getting back into the hobby, like my go-to games were really social deductions, because there was something about that thrill of, in a social deduction game, where a lot of the time is spent discussing stuff around the table, which is really good for people who are not that familiar with board games.
I love social deduction games.
Yeah, Resistance, One Night Ultimate Werewolf, this kind of thing.
I think those kind of games were really good because it still felt like you were just having fun with it. And obviously you have fun with board games, but board games can be serious as well. You can absolutely enjoy your time with them, but they're a serious thing. It's not that you're all having fun and having a laugh and a joke and stuff like that. Sometimes they're great, but they're a serious thing. I think social deduction often lean towards that fun side. So when you're moving into the hobby, it's very easy to pick up and be like, oh, I can get on with this.
And exactly. And generally, they're more or less, they're like in small card boxes. There's not much kind of like shelf space that needs to be taken up by them. The issues I found with them, and the reason why, once I got into the hobby more and more, I kind of strayed away from them, was the fact you need a lot of people to really make it worth your while. There is no kind of real solo version of a social deduction game. Secondly,
just holding up a mirror.
It was you.
Then again, I play War of the Rings solo, and that's got a hidden movement element to it. So anyway, but like the second thing was that after a while, that backstabbing nature of it in some of them gets a bit wearing after a while, and that constant idea of being on edge, of being distrustful, the novelty of that can wear off. And so it was quite interesting for me when, I cannot remember which of our groups suggested we play this, so apologies there, but we all got around online and we played Among Us, which is a game that is, by the time of recording, is no longer probably the new jam, because in true me fashion, I'm talking about a game that is not only 2 years old, but even though it's had this renaissance fairly recently, that has come and gone. And this was, you can get this on Windows, Android, and iOS. I believe it's free on Android. I don't know if it's free on iOS. This comes from a very small team of Innersloth, so designed by Marcus Bromander, art by Bromander and Amy Liu. It's an online, so it's a video game, not a board game, a multiplayer social deduction game.
Yeah.
Player count 3 to 10 players for obvious reasons, because 2 players are thinking, well, hang on, it's got to be them. Very simple premise. Your crewmates on a ship, each with a set of maintenance tasks that need completing to ensure the ship doesn't fall apart and that you can win the game when you complete all your tasks. So, for example, I have to go to the medbay to submit a scan, or I have to divert power to life support, or I have to download data in weapons. However, amongst the crew is an imposter who is hell-bent on sabotaging the ship and killing off the crew. The crew have to keep the ship functional whilst trying to root out the imposter and jettison them from the ship, whereas the imposter has to either sabotage the ship completely or kill off enough of the crew to win. So, in terms of how this plays out then, When you're leaving the lobby, when you all meet at the very beginning of the game, each player is secretly informed of their role. And then from then onwards, nobody speaks. So for the crew, you roam around the ship doing these light little mini puzzles to complete tasks such as joining wires, dragging leaves into an O2 filtration unit, or tracing navigation routes. And if you see anything suspicious, such as a crewmate behaving strangely or maybe a dead body, you can call a meeting. And this is the only instance when you talk to each other. And this is where all the crew get together and discuss their suspicions. So this is the social deduction element, where you can say, I saw Pete acting really suspiciously over in electricity. Yeah. And Pete can say, well, hang on, no, I saw you acting suspicious here. And you'll kind of, I saw this person next to the dead body, and they can say, well, hang on, no, I saw you next to the dead body. And it's your word against theirs. And you've got to try and convince everyone around the table. And then this will culminate in a vote, and depending on the outcome of that vote, somebody may be jettisoned out the airlock. If that person turns out to be the imposter, great, we've won the game. If it's an innocent crew member, oops. And so as the imposter, your job is really to blend in, making it look as if you're doing work around the ship whilst waiting for that optimum moment to strike, sabotaging equipment to create chaos and split the crew up, or waiting to kill off one of them, like that gazelle with the limp, like the back of the herd. But you're also able to call a meeting. So you could kill somebody, call a meeting and say, oh, I found a dead body here, just to divert suspicion elsewhere. You're also able to use the ventilation shafts to kind of quickly move around, but you've just got to make sure that nobody sees you enter and exit them, because that's a bit of a telltale otherwise. What makes this game really good fun, and surprisingly good fun for me personally, is that although the discussions are important, it is a social deduction game at heart, these are actually just as significant for the actions. So the actions are just as significant in that regard. So for when I play Werewolf, it's really just all on me. I get a card with my role. I can do some kind of feng shuiing of cards. I can move stuff around, but actually it's about how good a liar I am and how good a bluffer I can be.
Yeah.
If you're not that kind of person and you tend to shy away from social deduction games, like a lot of people I play with actually don't like them because they're not very good at lying. That's fine for Among Us, because you can just put all your efforts into looking as little as suspicious as possible when you're playing the game, moving around. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if I see Dan on his own, I can just follow Dan if I'm the imposter. And if I just choose not to kill him, just by me hanging around with Dan, hopefully that will build up trust with Dan. So when we get to the discussion, I know I've got Dan in my corner, and Dan can argue on my behalf, saying, well, Chris was with me the entire time. He didn't kill me. He could have done that, but he didn't.
I am extremely trustworthy to a fault.
And also, as well, one of the things that irritates me, and I know this is a pet peeve of yours, Sam, in social deduction games often, if you're out, that's it, you're out. You've just got to wait for everyone else. And it's really boring. And it's not so bad in games like Spyfall, where the turnaround for games like that is pretty quick, because as soon as you find out who the spy is, that's it. Deal out another set of cards. Here, what happens is you become a ghost. And that's great for two reasons. One, you can move through walls and carry on completing your tasks, so you're still helping the crew. But second, you can follow the imposter. And you can kind of take little mental notes in terms of how they play. So when you're playing this game again, you can look for those telltale signs in them. And it's really interesting, actually, how, like classic social deduction games, the more you play at it, the more suspicious you become. So one of our party, Greg, has played it much more than us. And by default, we tend to just to assume he was the imposter.
It's usually him, yeah.
And everyone has their own telltale signs, those things they do when they're being the imposter.
You say that, though, but I was getting very upset because I would be playing and Greg would be killing people, and he was the killer, and I knew he was the killer because I had seen him do it, and yet he barely even argued, but everyone thought it was me, and I got really upset. I was like, I couldn't understand it, and he couldn't understand it either, because literally I'd seen him do it, and he knew I'd seen him do it.
You're just very sus, Dan, just in general.
But like for me, actually, I say this is a social deduction game. Personally, for me, it really isn't. Like when I play this feels to me, and it sounds like I'm nitpicking here and being like really kind of Peter Willington about this, but like I think of this as a kind of a management game, which is essentially business simulation with a traitor mechanic. because like I actually enjoy doing the tasks. I go around being industrious, and I'll wander off on my own, even though I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position, doing the little mini games, the tasks. And actually, that traitor mechanic of there's someone in my midst here that could stab me in the back is kind of not secondary, but it's not as an overwhelming part of the game as it is, say, in games like One Night Ultimate Werewolf or Resistance, where it is literally just about rooting out the traitor.
So for you, this is a third-person logistics game.
In some senses, yeah, and it's quite relaxing because I'm playing it kind of touchscreen on my laptop.
Yeah.
So for some of the mini games in it that are quite fiddly, for me it's just a breeze because I can literally just trace my finger across the screen. I can empty the kind of the rubbish chute or whatever it's called, just using my finger on the screen. And I know you can play this on mobile or on a tablet.
That's how I played it.
Also, the game is very balanced, and you can have a say in how balanced it is. So. Yes, the imposter uses the vents, but they cannot see as far as the crew. So they could actually think they're on their own with this person stabbing them, but actually there's another crew member around the corner just out in their blind spot who's witnessed the whole thing. And you can go into the options, and if you feel that actually it's too easy for the imposters, you can add another imposter. Or if it's too difficult for the imposters, you actually increase their vision or give the crew more tasks to do, some that are longer than others, say, for example. You can increase the speed of the players. So the other time we played it, I put everyone's speed on max, and it was hilarious because like people were dying, but it was happening so fast that nobody could see it. And you start to kind of second guess yourself. And it does all those things that those early playthroughs of social deduction games did. That feeling, that joyful sense of suspense, where you feel safe, but you're enjoying the anticipation of the tension here. It's wonderful. It's beautifully Hitchcockian.
Finally, the loser. He goes last. He waits until this part of the podcast to finally open his gift.
It's a me.
I do have a small bone to pick with you. I mean, people said that mine was specific, but I do feel like Pete's Secret Santa was, can someone else do shopping for me? What? And I have evidence to back this up.
Oh.
So, Peter, what was your?
Mine was an expansion for a game I already own.
Okay, so here's a little peek behind the curtain.
Well, hold on a second. Let's you peek behind whatever curtain you think there is and see your opinion of this. And then I'll provide the truth.
So, Pete put this on our group and said it what he wanted.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later, he put something on our Instagram feed about how he was really enjoying Seven Wonders Duel and commented, "Oh, there's a recent expansion that's come out about this. I really want to give that a go."
Oh no, I did as well. Oh no.
That was like when a child writes that. I remember as a child wanting something for Christmas. So I remember, I don't know how I did it. I fell asleep with my finger pointing to the exact thing in the Argos catalogue.
That's really good. Okay.
Just leave this. I'll just leave this here.
Now I will admit that does sound really bad. And now that you're saying that, I'm like, oh yeah, actually that does sound like the work of somebody trying to
That's like, I really want that expansion, but I'll get someone else to buy it for me.
I totally thought you were going to go in a different direction, because what I did is, when we put this in the WhatsApp, I'm very aware that I always ask for something very difficult. So I thought what I'll do is I'll make it quite straightforward, because I'm going to do this BGG Secret Santa anyway. I have to update my wish list. I'll add a load of expansions to that, and I'll add that to it as well. And I think actually the BGG thing had already arrived by then. And I'll make it really easy, because these are all the games that I own. They're all on BGG. And here's my wish list. It's all on BGG. And I thought you were going to be like, oh, it was really easy because you made it really easy. But now that I remember that I put that post on Instagram, I'm like,
were any of them less than 15 quid on your BGG thing, Pete?
Well, yeah. Could I have the expansion to Epic Armageddon, please, from 2002? I also have a thing. So, it was
bloody hell, that's a big one.
It was put in this bag, And the reason is I asked Alex to just double-check the item was what the item actually was, because sometimes I end up spoiling things for myself, spoiling gifts for myself by opening things. I don't really look at the labels on boxes. I just open them.
Oh my gosh! I hope. I mean, have your neighbours ever actually?
I was going to say that's why I've committed so much postal fraud.
Okay, so
So I'm going to open this one up. So yes, well, I do apologise. It does. The evidence is damning, admittedly, but that is actually not what I'm doing. So, she's tied it really well. Well, well, my goodness me, it's a combo. It's an amazing combo. So, the first is it is a wonderful expansion for a game I own, which is the Marshal and Prisoners expansion for Colt Express, which is one of my favourite tabletop games.
I bought that recently. Yes, it's very, very good.
Play the Marshal, play the Bandits. So this is the one where, because this is the first time I think you can move the Marshal in the vanilla game, can't you? But you can't actually play as the Marshal.
That's correct.
And it looks like maybe they've added another character as well.
Yes, there's a new character in it. And also, just to put your fears aside, you can fit that in the Colt Express box.
Beautiful, amazing.
With a little bit of
jiggery pokery.
Let's just say my Colt Express box is now held down by several elastic bands.
Excellent stuff. This is fantastic. So this will go very nicely because I believe I have the Horse and Stage.
Have you got the Stagecoach expansion is also
fantastic.
Very, very good.
That is part one, but more than that.
Oh my gosh, there's a two-parter.
That's incredible.
I know.
Is it Pringles?
It is rather beautifully. I've also been provided an additional expansion for the game.
For the expansion?
Which is, of course... It's a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I mean...
It's a white cowboy hat.
It's
folks.
either Lone Ranger or Milky Bar Kid.
If anyone wants a frame of reference, if they've seen the Old Town Road video, then I feel like that's kind of the figure that Pete's striking.
It's very Lone Ranger, isn't it? Very.
Well, it's very. It looks like that's half of a sexy cow person costume, rather than a
cow person,
genuine
not a cow.
Cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I think this is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to wear this outside.
I think I know exactly what I'm going to ask for next year. I love that idea of, can you get me an expansion, but something that also enhances a board game that I already own?
Yeah. So Dan should have got like a little wicker basket to...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or a neckerchief.
Well, that is very much... Thank you very much, Secret Santa.
Pete, when you talked about your classroom course-based logistics game, you said it was the opposite of Abandon All Artichokes. I would say in a different direction. I've been playing a game which is the antithesis of your game, which is ASTRO's Playroom on PlayStation 5.
Okay, are they not getting any work done?
There was no course required. There was a significant financial
outlay.
There was a significant financial outlay, just like with your game.
Probably a bit more expensive, I'd say, than GetKanban.
Yeah. I'm hoping I'll get more use out of it than GetKanban will, though.
I mean, there is probably only just one game on the PlayStation 5 anyway, so...
That's fine. It's a great game. ASTRO's Playroom is the built-in kind of free game that comes with the PlayStation 5. Okay. And I've played kind of all the way through. It is a significant game. It's not just a demo. It's the most significant kind of built-in game, I think. Was Wii Sports built in? Was that kind of free with a Wii or something?
No, you got it free, but...
Free. Alex the Kid is probably the last one I can remember. Wasn't Sonic in one of the...
They built a load into the Master Systems. Yeah.
But it is. But that's the thing. We've got used to kind of consoles coming with like a small mini game set. So with you've had like the Playroom in the past.
PS Vita and PS4 both came with proof of concept mini games.
Yeah, but that's kind of all they were. Whereas Astro's Playroom it's not kind of the length of a full game, but it is substantial enough.
Okay.
And I have to say, I've just been having so much fun with it. It's such a joyful title. I don't want to go into any details in terms of spoilers around it, but the
Spoilers?
yeah.
Around Astro's Playroom. What happened?
Well, no spoilers. I'm not talking narrative. I'm not saying it's a big narrative title with an in-depth story, but there are certain. The game goes around kind of 4 different worlds. Within each of those worlds, there are 4 different levels. So as I say, that's a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
I think you can talk about like it explores the history of PlayStation.
Yeah, okay. Then. So that's the thing. It is a love letter to PlayStation, and really? I think if you're buying a PlayStation 5, I think you are invested in PlayStation to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And it absolutely, because I had the PlayStation 1, I didn't have PlayStation 2, I had PlayStation 3, 4, and now I'm fortunate enough that I've been able to purchase a PlayStation 5. And the idea of the game is you're going out and you're collecting artifacts. Now, artifacts are individual things, physical items that Sony have sold for the different systems, which taught me that they sold on a lot of crap for, like, especially the PlayStation 1. There was a mouse. There was a PlayStation 1 mouse.
Yeah, the PlayStation mouse. Yeah.
Yeah.
How else are you going to play Diablo?
Yeah, it reminded me of like the multitap and stuff like that I completely forgotten about.
Oh, I forgot about the multitap.
It's that kind of hit of nostalgia you're feeling there is just kind of the wave that goes over you when you're playing Astro's Playroom, because it's a joyful experience. You've got that nostalgia. You've got all those things that you're like, brilliant. Yeah, I've found that. Yes, I remember having that. I had this. Yes, the memory card from that. That's how that looked. But also, just the fun of it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of kind of. I have Astro's Rescue Mission for the VR, and it's a wonderful game. It's the best game on VR, and it's just a fantastic platformer. So I was kind of already in on Astro. The game I would kind of compare it to, and I compare it in a sense of the amount of joy it gave me, is Tearaway. On the Vita,
okay,
and it's a very different game, but that just level of kind of happiness that Tearaway does give you. That's the way I felt about Astro's Playroom. Now, it very much is a not, as I say, it's not a demo, but it's almost like a tech demo of what the new PS5 DualSense controller can do. Games going forward won't do as much with it as this game does, because everything in this game is designed to show you, it can do this, it can do this, it can do this. The haptic feedback feels really good. There's a lovely little thing where it introduces you to a controller where a load of robots fall into your controller, and then as you move it, you feel them moving around inside. It's a wonderful little demonstration of how the haptic feedback does work and does work effectively. For me, the adaptive dynamic triggers at the back, when they first announced those, that was what excited me about it. And they work really well. Like when you're pulling a bow and arrow, you have that tension, and it kind of... It's very difficult to describe, because you have the tension of pulling on a bow, but there's also that resistance that you kind of... It shakes a little bit. So it's just so subtle, but it has such a great effect. And you factor in the haptics, and you factor in sound design, and it all works really, really well. When you put all of that together in this really cute platformer, which I have to say, the best thing about it is as you walk through these levels, you see some of your robot friends filming each other, like with a video camera. And every time you see them filming each other, they're filming some of their friends acting out a scene from a PlayStation game.
Brilliant.
I recognise some of them. Some of them weren't completely past me. I guarantee each of you would have like a really big reaction to at least one of those games. Completely different games for each of you. I saw one and thought, that's Pete. I saw one and thought, that's Chris. I saw one and thought, that's Sam. One of the ones I love the most, and I'll spoil this one, is you kind of, as you're going through, you just spot them filming it, and all you see is this door frame. And you have a robot going up to the door frame and opening it and peeking through, and there's a zombie on the other side of the door. And that's absolutely a throwback to the original Resident Evil games, where you have the door opening and then the robot then closes again because he doesn't want to see what's behind it. And it's exactly that. And it's just like it's so subtle, and it's not kind of, this is Resident Evil. It's like, if you know Resident Evil, you know that. Because I said there's plenty of them in that I didn't know. That, Pete, I'm sure you would. You're more invested in PlayStation kind of than I am, and there'll be plenty there that I haven't spotted that you would. Because it does, they're not all just mainstream stuff. There are plenty of mainstream, but there are a lot more, what's the right word? A lot more obscure various. And they're just that level of fun. And to have it in just, that's the first game that you play, I was just completely sold. I was like, yes, this is just a wonderful game. And it just made me happy. It just made me happy.
I love these early games that really explore what that platform will do. There's a bit of I think it's an open secret now. Yeah, I think it probably is a bit of an open secret now. But generally, the reason that you see a lot of games that will be quote unquote gimmicky at the start of a console's lifespan. So, for example, the 3DS did a lot of there were a lot of games that had 3D. The standard DS used the touch screen a lot, right? The early games used a lot of those, whereas later DS games kind of didn't really bother with much of that stuff. The reason is that a lot of the platform holders will basically say, like, well, if you're going to be early on the platform, we'd really like you to take advantage of all of these great things that we have access to. And actually, the early part for me, the exciting part of consoles are the very earliest parts of the consoles, where we get our, I don't know, let's say on DS, you get your WarioWare Touch. Because it shows you, like, this is why using a stylus is going to be a great fun. With your early iPhone stuff, all of those really early multi-touch games, Angry Birds and stuff like that. For me, the early stuff is really exciting, and then the really late stuff is really exciting, just before the generation finishes, and seeing, like, those two different parts of the console lifespan and what those early quote unquote gimmicky things that were like playing around with lots of the things that that you're talking about with the controller and the sound and all that good stuff, and then the latter end, like, how have they, what did developers land on as the exciting part of that hardware?
I think the interesting thing from my point of view, in terms of what I want to hear about, like, Dan and the PlayStation 5, is that, like, what's the quality of life improvements? Like, I can take or leave graphics, really. Like, it's what I've heard about the faster loading times. The fact that, like, in Miles Morales, right, there is an option where you can put in loading screens if you're fast traveling, because apparently it's so quick, people don't believe that they've actually fast traveled. So you can actually choose an option to put in a loading screen to tell you, right, yeah, you are fast traveling now. It's absolutely fine. So, like, what are, like, those quality of life changes?
In terms of that speed, I mean, obviously, I don't have Spider-Man Miles Morales, so I've only been playing Astro's Playroom. The other games I've been playing have been my PS4 games, which I've got on my external drive. Because I'm playing them from my external drive, I'm not seeing a big difference in loading times, because the loading times only improve when you play it directly from the SSD.
But what about quality of life stuff, like using the menu, using the share function, using the...
I mean, everything works super smoothly and super fast. Now, what I would say in terms of speed with the SSD, and this was one of the things that really impressed me about the kind of the system, is you may have seen them kind of talk about it in one of their many videos and stuff. One of the things they've introduced are these cards. So when you press the PlayStation button, when you tap it, you have a group of icons pop up at the bottom, which is just your menu items, and then a group of cards. Now, if you're playing, it could be various trophies that you've received recently, or news items, or whatever. Now, what it'll also show is, perhaps, even if you're not in the game, it'll show Astro's Playroom, you've completed 50% of this level, you completed 70% of this level. Now, if you click onto that, it'll say, kind of, do you want to play it? If I press yes, literally about 5 to 7 seconds later, I'm in the level that I've clicked on. Not just the game, into the level and I'm playing that level that I've selected. And when the first time that happened, because I think I'd actually already got, say, Uncharted something loaded up, and I'd skip between it. I'd finished playing that. It was technically still running because I hadn't closed the application. I clicked onto this card, and then within 5 seconds, I was playing Astro, and I was like, wow, that is... Because that's doing a lot of work to kind of close down an application, open up a new application, take me to a specific level, start that level, and now I'm in control. And so I can imagine from the Miles Morales stuff, if you're fast traveling, that game's already running. Yes, that's going to move like lightning quick. So I can absolutely understand that. From my own basis, there's just a smoothness to your constant movement. If the screen does go black, it's black for 2 seconds at most between kind of levels. That's as much as it is.
So it's like slow blinking.
Yeah, absolutely. If I just stretch and close my eyes, then that's it all done. A lot of the time, the graphic will take you from one level into another one without any kind of major break. So all those things, obviously, I can't speak to Miles Morales, which is a much bigger game than Astro's Playroom, probably. But from what I have seen, that kind of quality of life made me go, yes, this is a big step up.
I think the biggest quality of life thing that I'm most interested in about the PlayStation 5 is those cards and the fact that you can do this and it's going to take you approximately this amount of time to do it in. And I'm like, I am down to clown with that kind of, I've got 20 minutes. What can I do and achieve in that time? Press a button, start.
With Astro's Playroom, because it's not narratively driven, I can look at that and say, okay, here's a list of levels that I've not finished. I'm going to jump into that one, and I'm in it like that. And then I can move to another one if I need be, and I'm in it like that. And so it is. There's no element of I've got to turn it on, I've got to load it up, I've got to do this, I've got to do this. When I load up one of my PS4 games, you get graphic boosts, and there is elements of that. Obviously, that's dependent on the game itself. If they run at higher frame rates, even though it's coming from the external. But you don't have those loading times. When you're taking something from that SSD that's been designed for it, like Astro's Playroom, and obviously PlayStation 5 games going forward will be designed for the SSD, because they can only be played from the SSD. You can't play a PlayStation 5 game from an external drive. That lightning quickness, it's going to get you into a game faster. There's not going to be any element of delay. You're not going to be okay, I've got to wait 5 minutes to get into my game. It's that immediate, let's get him playing, let's get him started. He doesn't have a lot of time, let's just do it now.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special edition of the Staying In podcast. We were all there, Daniel Frost, Chris Darby, Peter Willington and me, Sam Turner. And this is the last podcast of 2020, and what a year it's been. Thank you so much for listening to the show. It really means the world to us to have such a friendly, positive and enthusiastic bunch of listeners. Thanks also to all the publishers and developers who have so gratefully shared their fantastic games with us this year. We really appreciate all your support too. If you're looking for some last-minute gift ideas, then we're here for you. Head over to Steam or Board Game Geek, where you will find our pages where we list all the games we've played and recommended, not just over the last year, but indeed over the entire history of the podcast. If you need more of the show to see you through the Christmas period, then head on over to stayinginpodcast.com or just use your podcast app of choice, where our entire back catalogue sits awaiting your attention. We will, of course, still be on the Soch over Christmas, so please do follow us on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook. Just search for Staying In Pod. But that's it for now, and all that's left to say is that we hope you take care of yourself over the holidays. And we really hope that you're able to just take some time over the next few weeks to share something positive with someone close to you. We wish you a Merry Christmas, and we will see you in the new year. Bye-bye.